everyone, welcome back. Today's notes is 11.7 geometric probability, and the objectives is to calculate the probability that a point follows within an area of a segment, or to calculate probability that a point falls in a particular region of a figure. Definition: the probability of an event is a measure of the likelihood that the event will occur. Important parts of that: a probability is always between 0 and 1, which is 0%, 100%. A probability can be expressed as a fraction, a decimal, or percent. Let me give you some examples before we talk about those three things. So for example, if it's sunny out, what's the probability of raining while it's sunny? Well, it's definitely very unlikely, so probably between 10% or less, but it's possible because there's sun shower, so maybe that's 3%. Or you can actually go down and say, hey, if it's raining outside, 100% I will get wet unless I'm in the car or anything else. But if I'm outside, I can be 100% certain I will get wet or I will get muddy. So it depends the situation on a certain event. There's different possibilities. When you have those kind of possibility, 0 is like 0%, and 0.25 is about 25%. And then 1 is like 100%. Then also another thing is you can write that 1 in 100 is going to be 100 over 100. Okay, that's 100 over 100%. Now, if it's 25%, you will say 25 over 100. And of course, you have to reduce it because that's what the rules for fraction. So in this case, that can be 1/4. So 25% can be written like 0.25, 25 over 100, 1/4. So that's why you have three different ways of writing it. You can have it in fraction, which is right here. You can have it in decimal, which is right here, second one. And then you can have the last one in percent, which is in pink. So everything can be expressed. Do you have to express it all? No, just one. And usually depends on the instructions. If the instruction doesn't tell you, any of the three ways is totally possible. Let's go on to the next example. Example number 1 says, find the probability that a point chosen at random is on PQ is on RS. Okay, chosen at random on PQ is on RS. So PQ is from here, P to Q. PQ is going to be the one that's the whole thing. And RS is going to be what we want. So usually probability formula is going to be what we want, in this case, the number from RS over the whole thing, that's going to be PQ. We are just going to count the numbers. So if you count the numbers, PQ on the bottom is going to be spacing. We're counting the spacing. That's 1, -5 to -4. So -5, -4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 is the whole thing on the bottom. And then we are going to do RS. RS is going to be right here. And that's what we want. And to count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You cannot use the tick mark. If you count the tick mark, you're going to get 1 extra. So that's going to be wrong. So make sure you count the space in between. So that is going to be 6. And then, so now what you can do is you can reduce it. That is going to be either 3/5, or you can give it to me in 0.6, or you can give it to me in 60%. But in this case, 3/5 would just do. You cannot leave me at 6/10. That is not going to be the correct answer. I'll take off points, because you did not reduce your fraction. And your calculator can also reduce fraction for you. If you just do math on your calculator and go to number 1, fraction, and will reduce it for you. So pause the video, try number 2 and 3, and come back and check the answer. Answer for example number 2 is going to be sigma RT will have 1 over 10, chosen at random probability of 1 over 10, and then segment TS will have a 5 over 10, and when you reduce it, it's 1.5, which is 50% chance to get picked. On to example number 3. Now, example number 3 is going to be looking at the picture, which is what we are trying to do. So it's going to be find the probability that a point chosen at random falls in the shaded region. Now, the shaded region, if you look, is like right here and right here. Now, there's tons of different ways to do the problem. For me, I would like to give you the formula is going to be the what you want, probability, I'm going to name it as a P, is what you want over total area, okay? Now, in this case, what you want is the shaded area or shaded region over, again, the total area, in this case, is the rectangle. So now we need to think about this. But before I start making you guys memorize all different kind of stuff, I don't want you guys to memorize. I want you guys to think about when you're doing something like problem like this. So let's go back to something. I don't know you guys have ever seen it. You know, got to make the donut, the Dunkin' Donut commercial. They have a piece of dough. Let's just say this is a piece of dough right here. Here's a piece of dough. And do you remember this is a piece of dough when you roll out? And then you're trying to make a donut. So you take a donut cutter. So you say, okay, cut the donut. Okay. So therefore you take it out that piece of donut. Okay. But that's not a real true donut because donut has a hole in it. So in this case, you take another smaller one and you cut the little hole out. So to keep this donut, so you have the dough first, then you cut the donut and you take off the little hole in the middle to get your donut. So those are the steps I would like you to really, really think about as you going on do probability problems. There's a strategy. There's a plan you should lay out. Okay, and then I'm going to keep on saying that to you. It's going to be something that you kind of have to think through. So please do not just kind of go and guess. So I usually like to make you guys plan out the route before you start working through the formula and plugging the numbers. So in this case, it's actually cutting the dough twice to get my ideal shape of a donut by taking it 2 pieces out. All right, so based on the thinking skill, we are going to think about what do we need. So usually I would like to say, hey, what's your strategy? For example, to find the 2 shaded area, I am going to just taking the rectangle piece right here and cut off my half circle. So if you write the strategy, you really should do that because it will make your life easier. So I have a rectangle piece minus the little half circle. Then I will equal to the little shaded area what I have. So in this case, write down the formula that is going to be base times the height for the rectangle. And the circle is actually half the circle. So that's going to be the area. So area is equal to pi r squared. So I'm going to take away the area because we kind of know. So rewriting it is going to be just pi r squared. But because a half circle, I'm going to divide by 2. Now, once I do that, I'm going to fill in the numbers. So the base times the height, in this case, that is going to be 5. The reason for that is because if you look at the picture, the whole thing is 7, okay? Now, you know the diameter is 10. So if you take that 10 divided by 2, that will give you the part right at the radius from here to here is 5. And from here to here is also 5. So therefore, radius is all the same measurement. So from here to here is also 5. Now because of that, I know this right here is going to be 2 because 7 minus 5, 7 right here minus 5 gonna give me the 2. Let me try it in a different color so you can see it better. So you can see 7 right here and 5 right here will give me the 2 right here. All right, so moving on to the pieces. In this case, what you have is your rectangle is going to be 5 times 10. So that's going to give me 50 minus you have r. Well, in this case, by looking at that circle, it's going to be 5. So that's going to be pi times 5 squared over 2. And then that's going to leave me with a little shaded area. So in this case, that is going to be, when you simplify, that's going to be equal to 50 minus 25 pi over 2. So that's just your shaded area. Now, for the shaded area, it's not quite the same as probability. That's the key word we want to hear. So probability, in this case, I told you guys, is going to be the area what you want, shaded region, okay, over the total area. So because of that, what we're going to do over the total area, because this is just the shaded area. So in this case, let me show you the total area. How do you get that? So the total area is going to be equal to a rectangle, the big one. So it's going to be 7 times 10. That's going to be 7 times 10, 70. So what you're going to do, the probability is going to be equal to the shaded area, which is what you want, 50 minus 25 pi over 2 over 70. Now I want to show it to you guys on how to use the calculator. Give me a minute. So now I have a calculator. Let me show you how you should be putting it in, okay? So it's going to be 50. Remember I told you guys, make sure you put in with your top part first. Finish off your top part before you do the dividing on the bottom. Okay, so in this case, it's going to be 50 minus parenthesis 25 second pi divided by 2 in parenthesis. That's equal to, and when you see a fraction right here, please understand you should put the fraction in parenthesis. Since pi is on the top, I just put down 25 pi, or 25 times pi is totally okay. That's times pi right here. So now what you're going to have is you are going to press enter, and that should give you about 10.73. After that, you're going to take that, divide by the bottom, which is 70, and then press enter, and that's going to give you about 0.15328. So because of that, I'm going to write that down as decimal first, and that's going to be approximating about 2 decimal places, 15.1533. So 2 decimal places is going to be 15.33%. So let me box that up for you guys so you understand what I want. Okay, so that will be the answer for this problem for the shaded region. That's example number 3. Example number 4, I would like you guys to start thinking about it. This is a circle which is 360 degrees. And then if this is a 90 degree, you should know that it's probably going to be a quarter of it, because that's 90 divided by 360. And then if you cancel out, that's going to be 1/4. So in this case, this is actually a 1/4 of a circle. And since this is 1/4 of a circle, I'm going to concentrate on the 1/4 of the circle because we're going to get whatever we want to shade it. Find the probability of the point chosen at random falls in the shaded region. So I technically need to find this little piece right here, then take it over the whole circle. So let's draw our strategy right now. That's going to be a quarter circle minus a quarter triangle like that. That gives me the little shaded area that look like this. So now if you want to draw it a little bit more better, you can say it's going to be this piece right here. All right, so now let's get started. So if you have a quarter circle right here, the formula for that is going to be pi r squared, but divide by 4. Then you're going to find the triangle that's a half of the base times the height. All right, by having those two formulas, we're going to find out all the pieces we need. The first one, we need an r for that circle. And the second thing is we need the base and the height. So let me erase all the other stuff I put in so we can have a better picture. So what happened here is, if you guys can think about back in chapter 7 for the right triangle, if this is a 90 degree, that means if you drop this down in the middle, because guess what? This is isosceles triangle. So if this is an isosceles triangle, when you drop it, that's going to give you a 45 and 45 degree triangle. So that is actually a 45, 45, 90 degree triangles that we are talking about. So because of that, you should know this is 8. That's what they say. And then that means this is also 8. And since it's 45, 45, let me draw it out for you. That's 8, 8, that's 8 root 2. And then so therefore your height or your size, 8 root 2 right here. And then right here is 8 root 2. And then so now what you're going to have is, you know that you are going to have 8 root 2. And this is going to be 8 root 2. I hope you guys can see that. If you turn the circle around, you might see it a little bit better. So now what you have is you'll have the radius that is from here to here. That's onto the circle from the center. So that's going to be the radius. So let's do that for the radius. So that's going to be pi r, which is 8 root 2 square over 4. Now, don't panic. I will break it down all the steps for you. Second part is you're going to minus the triangle. Now, triangle, you actually are looking at the whole thing, which is from here, the whole thing. So I hope you guys understand that's really half. And the base, if you turn the triangle, so this is going to be the lake. You cannot see on that. If you can break it down and see if this is the triangle we're talking about, therefore, this is the base. I'm sorry, this is the triangle, and this is the base, and that is the height. So you should be able to see, hey, this is 8 right here. So this 4, that is also 8. So that's going to be base, which is 16. That's the base. And times the height, which is in this case also 8. Right here. I hope you guys can see that. Okay, and then so in this case, we're going to simplify a little bit to make our life easier, and that will be your shady area. So if you write this out, it's going to be 8 pi times 8 root 2 times 8 root 2 over 4 minus half of 16 is going to be 8 times 8. So when you reduce it, I can reduce actually the 4 and the 8, and that give me a 2. So when you reduce that, your answer is going to be pi times the green 2 times the square root 2 right here, and the square root 2 give me square root 4, which is technically 2. So that's going to be my purple 2 from the reducing of the square root. Then you also have an 8 left. I hope that helps. Then bottom is nothing because it's just 1. So I'm going to leave it minus 64, which is 8 times 8. Now let's pull out the calculator and then let me show you how to punch it in. So here we go. Punch in the calculator. I'm going to start with second pi times 2. If you want to put a parenthesis, go ahead. If you don't, it's okay too, because they are all multiplying. And don't forget, order of operation is minus. So if you times the top, its own multiplication is totally okay. So if you want to put down parenthesis, and then you're going to put down another 2, and then you're going to times 8. Okay, and that will be the first part right here. Then I'm going to type in the second part, which is I'm going to press enter, and that's going to be 100.53. I'm going to minus 64. That's enter. It's going to give you about 36.53. Okay, and then I'm going to leave that number alone on the calculator because eventually we're going to use that to divide. So now what we're going to have is that's going to be the shaded area. Now once you know that's the shaded area, we have to take it into the total. The probability is going to be equal to shaded area over the total. Now the total in this case is really just a circle. So I'm going to find the circle, which is going to be pi r squared. And the shaded area is going to be what I have before. And that's going to be 36.53. And then so now what we have is going to be 36.53 over pi, what's my r? My r in this case is going to be 8 root 2 because that's again from the center to the side of the circle. So that's going to be 8 root 2 squared. All right, so then let me write it out and then we're going to punch in the calculator. So that's about 36.53 over again 8 times square root 2 times 8 square root 2 times pi. So again, the a and the a is there. Square root 2 and square root 2 right here become a 2. So that's going to be, work it out, 36.53 over 64 times 2 pi. If you want to do that, that's totally okay. 64 is because 8 times 8. So let's punch in the calculator. What I said to you guys is I'm going to use the number before, and I'm going to do divide by. You can actually pick up the answer. So to get the answer is going to be second, the green button, the orange button right in front, right on top of the little tiny negative sign in parentheses. So answers divide by parentheses. Too many things on the bottom, got to put in parentheses. 64 times 2 times second pi. Close. Press enter. It's going to be 0.0908%. So right here is going to be 0.09. 2 decimal places. So you got to have 2 more. Okay. Dropping everything. That's about times 10 is going to times 100. I'm sorry. That's going to be 9.08%. And that should be your answer. We are going to skip number 5 because there's more involved in figuring out how to do number 5. Because it's a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle instead of just 45, 45, 90. And so if we have time, we'll come back and do that. So now we're going to cover the last one in the area, which is this picture, which is the probability. It says, you guys try, but I think it is time we also do one more. Okay, so to start off with this, I would like you guys to think about what would you do. There's multiple way to do this problem. You can take the whole thing minus the trapezoid. This is the trapezoid right here. Or you can actually, some people did, they say, oh, okay, I can cut this in half and then find that rectangle and cut off the shaded area. Or some people say, okay, I can do it also this way, is to find my shaded area. I want to maybe cut it this way. So there's tons of different ways. So if you organize it, there's no problem for me to give you partial credit. But if you don't organize it, it's very tough for me to do that. So please take the time to organize it and draw me your strategy. And I would love to make sure that you get as much points as possible. So for the way I would like to do it, again, the problem is to find the probability, which is right here, that the points chosen falls in the shaded area. So that means, again, it's going to be probability is equal to, I'm going to put it on this side, probability is equal to wanted area over total area. Because of that, we are going to start off drawing the diagram. Like I want to have a strategy. I'm going to take the total rectangle minus a trapezoid. That will give me all the pieces that's shaded. So it's going to be like right here. To start off with, I would like to put down all formula. Base times height for my rectangle. And the trapezoid is going to be, here's the formula, half of base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay, now base 1, base 2 is where the parallel line is. So in this case, it will be right here. And you should know that from before. The only difference is maybe I have not give you the formula, so now I'm presenting it to you. Base 1 is top, base 2 is on the bottom, or vice versa. And you should know that those are the parallel lines. All right, so start off, we have B times H. Okay, I'm going to use B, which is 8, times H, which is 5. So in this case, right away, I can say, hey, that's 40. Now, after that, I would like to make sure that I find my second one correctly. So have base 1, if you look at the formula right here, it tells you that's 3. So I'm going to say 3 right here. And then this part right here is going to be what? Well, if you go all the way across, you should notice there's the 5 because that's the length from here to here. So because that, I'm going to say plus 5 and times the H. And then in this case, for H, you should recognize that it's going to be the height. And here's is my height. So that's times H, which is going to be 2. Now, once you do that, you can just do order of operation. I'd like to add 3 plus 5 first because that's 8. And then plus that's order of operation. To half of 8 times 2. And that's going to equal to 40 minus half of 8 is 4. And then times 2. 4 times 2 is going to be 8. I hope that's okay. Or you can even just say, oh, wait a minute. Isn't this just cancel out? Sure. That's either way is totally okay. So now what you can do is you can simplify a little bit more. And that is going to be just 8. So this case, the shaded area is just 32. Now, after you do that, you're going to put shaded area, which is the wanted area, over the whole thing. So P equals 32 divided by the total. Well, what's total? The total is just going to be the whole thing right here again. See that? That's the total. So I'm going to put that 40 right down here. So that's the total of a rectangle. And then when you punch in the calculator, 32 divided by 40 equals 4/5, or I want to change it into decimal. I kind of knew it's 0.8, or that can equal to 80%. And that is the probability to hit the point inside the shaded area. Thank you so much for watching.